Welcome, sweet friends, to the channel Frugal Money Saver. My name is Emmy. My husband's Paul. We're so happy you have joined us today. Today's video, we're going to be sharing some old-fashioned retro tips on how to save money on your food budget. These tips and hints are just as relevant today as they were 60 years ago. We're also going to be reassessing our food supply. We're going into our pantry. We are going to deep clean and declutter our entire pantry. We're going to show you the before and we're going to show you the after. We hope it's really motivating. We'll also be getting into the kitchen and we will be sharing a retro, budget-friendly frugal meal. So sit back, relax, and let's get right to this video. The first thing we're going to talk about is keeping a well-stocked and organized pantry. And we're going to show you ours in just a minute. I want you to think back to your mom or your grandmother and the pantry they kept. My mom's was in the basement of our home. And whenever she'd need something like a can of peas or a can of tuna, she'd say, Emmy, go down into the cellar and grab a can of whatever and bring it up. Everything was in order. She used these big wooden shelves that were up against a wall in our basement. And everything was organized. She always rotated stock. I can see it in my mind's eye today. So in keeping with that, one of the best old-fashioned tips we can give you is keep a well-stocked pantry with food that you eat. Rotate. In other words, take the newer cans and put them in the back, and the ones that are going to expire first, bring them to the front. So you're always making sure that food is not expiring. And keep a variety of foods, things like canned meats and fish, boxes of pasta, jars of tomato sauce, cans of tomatoes, some crackers, peanut butter, olives, just things that you know that are shelf stable that you can go to when it's time to make dinner to make your meal planning easy and delicious. Let's get into our pantry. Please don't be shocked. We're just coming off the holidays, and a lot of times when we would buy, I kind of just shoved it in there. So you know we keep it real on this channel. I don't clean and then show you. Let's get motivated, get into our pantry, and do some organizing. I know that was scary, but now we begin to restore order. The first thing I did was I removed everything from the pantry shelves and set up a table to put everything on. We almost lost these Archway Pfeffernuss cookies. They expired January 25th, but that was only a couple days and they tasted fine. What I would do is finish one whole shelf, put everything away, wipe it down, and then I'd start on another shelf. This way I didn't get overwhelmed and everything was easier to put back and to organize. Before I started putting everything back, I would wipe down every single shelf, make sure it was nice and clean. And I put all like items together, so all the coffee was together, all the spices and herbs, condiments, and here it is. What a wonderful feeling. I did make a pantry inventory as well. I wrote everything down, how many we had of each, dates things were expiring, just makes it so much easier. I can't tell you how much better I feel. Sometimes we just need a little push to get us going, but then once we do, the end results are so worth it. I did have one expired bag of barley in there, and I opened it up and it just smelled a little off, so I did throw it away. I never encourage you to fool with questionable food. You don't do that. No money is worth saving to get yourself sick. But out of everything in there, I thought that was pretty good. I'm sad I lost that bag of barley, but I dated the outside of the cans of tomatoes so I can see the dates. I turned boxes that have dates printed on the top or side upwards so I can see them at a glance. So important to keep that stocked pantry organized, clean, and efficient. Again, it saves you money. You're not buying duplicate products, and you always know what you have in stock. Now let's go back to 1963. And I'm going to share a cookbook with you. And then we're going to go to a section of the cookbook that tells us how to save money at the food store. Let me just show you this cookbook real quick, and then we'll get to some really good, highly effective tips that were given 62 years ago that are still very, very useful for today's economy. So this is the cookbook I want to share. This is circa 1963. Better Homes and Gardens, So Good Meals. Look at the bottom what it says. 100 tasty ways to please your family. How to eat at home and like it. I kind of like that. So first thing, you know, I'm going to show you some pictures because I just love these vintage cookbooks for the photos. Okay, right off the bat, how great is this? The kids are cooking. Oh my goodness. Look in the back. You can see the yellow, I guess maybe that's a pitcher, and those yellow cups that go with it. Just a gorgeous retro picture. So fun. This is the section we're going to be looking at. Buy a bargain, fix a feast. Eat well on little money. Look at this picture. If anyone knows where I can find that piggy bank, yeah, let me know down below in the comments section. How in love am I with that? So cute. And this right here, this section is what we're going to be talking about very briefly. How to save money at the food store. So let's get right into it. Now, I just want to give you the highlight of each of those tips. The first one is plan your meals in advance. Well, how many times do we talk about meal planning? And that is the first thing they're encouraging you to do. Be smart. List exact needs and your spending limit before every trip. Makes sense. Don't just go in there running up and down the aisles, buying whatever you want. Stick with your list. That will save you money. And it says right here, and that means you've got to plan meals ahead. Always encourage you to do that. The second tip is go in for specials. One of the best ways to make the home freezer pay for itself is to buy enough on special to last you a while, but don't buy too much. And we say that to you too. If you're going to waste the food you're buying, no sale price is worth that. The next one is buy top grade some of the time. High prices don't guarantee high quality. Back then, a 49-cent pound of ground beef packs more nutrition than a $1.29 pound of a T-bone steak because it contains no waste. What a great point. Another tip is be flexible in your food plan. If the lettuce on your list costs twice as much this week as last, then substitute something else. they recommend cabbage. And always be flexible with the items that are on sale. And then it says, yes, use convenience foods. Know when you can save and when you can't by starting from scratch. And what they're saying here is some convenience foods may be worth it if they're good and they have good ingredients instead of making everything from scratch. And what they say here is most families use a combination of foods. Home cooking is creative and delicious, but you can get homemade flavor by adding your own personal touch to convenience foods. And we can attest for that when we get our frozen pizza that we stick in the freezer. I doctor it up with a little bit of olive oil if it's plain, whatever meat we may have in the refrigerator, and it makes a wonderful economical meal. Another tip is save more by cooking more. When beef pot roast is on special, get it. Serve part as pot roast. Turn leftovers into meat pie or hash, or as a mock stroganoff. And a whole ham can be sliced by the butcher into slices or roasts. Perfect way. We're always telling you, buy that whole chicken. So much cheaper, and you get so much more out of it than just buying the pieces. Those are just some helpful tips from 1963 that are absolutely as relevant today as they were then. I'm always recommending that you keep an eye out for these kind of old-fashioned cookbooks at thrift stores and garage sales. Do not go on eBay and pay $15 for a book like this. I guarantee you, wait, be patient, and you will find them. Actually, a viewer blessed me with this cookbook. So thank you, sweet viewer. You know who you are. And also remember, though, when you use these older cookbooks, their food safety and handling and refrigeration suggestions are not always relevant today. So make sure you use modern, food safe handling and storage recommendations for today. Okay, so we are on a roll. We're going to go now a year behind. We're going to go to 1962, and we're going to hang out with our friend Betty Crocker. And she's going to take us into the kitchen right now, and we're going to make a yummy, low-cost, frugal meal that she recommends is budget friendly. So let's turn this camera around and get into the kitchen. Here's the book we're going to be getting today's recipe out of. Betty Crocker's New, Good, and Easy Cookbook. This is circa 1962. So we have found a money-saving supper right here under hearty main dishes for dinner. So we're going to be making this corn hamburger bake, and we're going to serve it with green beans. I am not going to be making the tangy tomato aspic because honestly, not even sure what that is. What we are going to make is this corn and hamburger bake. We are going to have the recipe being it's only Paul and I, but by all means, make the whole one if you'd like. Take a screenshot now with your phone so you can refer back to this recipe to make it. I think this is going to be a good one. We've never made it. I love to try new vintage recipes with you all. So we're going to need 1 large onion, a pound of ground beef, a 1/4 cup of celery, 2 cans of cream-style corn, 3/4 cup milk or water. We're going to be using milk, a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon pepper, a bouillon cube, which we're not going to be using, and then the corn biscuits. We're going to need a cup of Gold Meadow flour. We're going to need 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, teaspoon of salt, an egg, 2 to 3 teaspoons of chopped parsley, which I do not have, 1/4 cup of cream-style corn, and 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. This is going to be so unique and delicious. Let's get right to work. I've got my beef and onion in the pan, and I am just going to brown this. As I said earlier, we're only doing a half a recipe, so this is a 1/2 pound of ground beef and about 1/4 of an onion. This is extremely lean ground beef. I don't even have to drain it. So that's a wonderful thing. So I am going to add the rest of the ingredients. We're going to put our celery in, 1 can of cream-style corn, a half a cup of milk. We're going to give this a good mix. Now I'm going to season it. I'm adding a little garlic powder, Italian herb seasoning, because that's got a little bit of everything in it. Some ground pepper, and a little sprinkle of salt. Now we're just going to let this simmer for a few minutes on low. Cook that celery a little bit while we make our biscuits. We preheated the oven to 425 degrees. And now is a great time. Throw in some potatoes and bake them. Roast some vegetables while this is cooking. Use that heat in your oven to full capacity. Now we're going to make our biscuits. I've got a cup of all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of salt. I used a little less, 1 egg. I opened the second can of corn, and I'm only going to put half a cup of creamed corn to that. I'll put the rest in the refrigerator to have with another meal. And it called for 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Now, of course, you can use melted butter, but I'm trying to keep as true to the recipe as possible. I am making a full recipe of the biscuits, though. Now, we are going to whisk this all together. Okay, I used a whisk and it did get a little clogged up, so I stopped and I switched to a spatula. So there we go. Our dough is made. I don't want to over mix it because it is a biscuit dough. So as you can see, we have this on a low simmer. It came to a boil, which is what we wanted. Now we're carefully going to transfer this to our baking dish. So very carefully, this is super hot. We're transferring it to a baking dish. Now we're going to take our biscuit mix and we're going to spoon it right on top and we're going to drop it right on there. We're going to take this, it's hot, be careful, and put it in a 425 degree preheated oven for 25 to 30 minutes until the dumplings are cooked. We just cooked this for 25 minutes. You can see it was nice and bubbly. This looks really good. I'm going to spoon some of this out. What a hearty, delicious meal. Perfect comfort food for this cold, snowy, and gray day. I just want to show you how beautifully those biscuits rose and cooked. I am beyond thrilled. Really, this very, very good. That meal was so warm, so cozy. It's snowing and icing here again in New York. What a perfect meal. We used pantry staples and we used what we had in the freezer, some ground beef, and what a hearty meal. And we paired it with some string beans, so you're getting your green vegetable. You had your biscuits right on top of the hamburger mixture. It was delicious. Simple, simple fare, but it hit all the right spots. So keep your eye out for those older cookbooks. You will get a lot of really good money-saving tips and ideas on how to save money in the food store from them. So we thank you so much for sharing this time with us. Today's question of the day is, what old-fashioned money-saving hint do you use to keep your food budget low? Is it a recipe? Is it an ingredient? Is it something you do to store your food or preserve your food? Please share it with us down below, because it will not only encourage us, it'll encourage our viewers as well. We ask that you take a minute and give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. And also, please, I always tell you this, go to our main page and make sure you are still subscribed and hit that little bell and make sure it says all. So every time we put out a video, you will receive an alert. We ask you to be well. We ask you to be safe. And above all, we wish you blessings. Until our next video, may God greatly bless you.